I was checking my mail the other day and I was pleasantly surprised to find a letter from one of you. The email was in Spanish, and since I only know 2-3 Spanish words, I tried to translate it online. I can tell you that it's very hard to translate patterns using free online tools. On the next day, I received another email with some additional explanations. And I made it. The woman gave me permission to share the instructions with you, so today I will show you how to knit a pocket for a hoodie. First, make sure the racking handle is in its lowest position. Now raise 60 needles on the front bed of the machine, 30 to the left and 30 to the right side of the center. Place the edge springs on the last working needles. Now raise the opposite 60 needles on the back bed. You have to observe the needle rule. Place the edge springs on the last working needles. It should look like this. Set both locks to N and the stitch size to 3.5. Insert the black strippers and take the main yarn. Now knit one row. On the front lock, increase the stitch size to 5, then set the back lock to GX. Now knit 40 rows to make the hem casing. When you are ready, the lock must be on the left side of the machine and the row counter must be at 41 rows. Rotate the racking handle anti-clockwise to its upper position. Move the edge springs to the sides and use the double-eye bodkin tool to transfer all stitches to the needles on the front bed. After you transfer all stitches, put the edge springs back on the last working needles and make sure all needles on the back bed are out of working position. Knit one row to sew the hem casing. Clear the row counter and set the front lock to BX. On the front bed, start from right to left and put 40 pushers in working position. Drop the front bed and attach one weight close to the last working needles and another one a bit to the left. Now raise the front bed and knit 20 rows. Don't reset the row counter. Drop the front bed and rehang the right weight a bit higher on the knitting. Now you need to use the 5-prong tool. Take the stitches of the first group of 5 working needles and move them 3 needles to the right. Make sure to put all empty needles out of working position. Now knit 6 rows. You have to repeat the same steps. Move the next group of 5 stitches 3 needles to the right. Put the empty needles out of working position and knit 6 rows. These are called full-fashion decreases and they make beautiful edges of the garments. Continue repeating these steps until you have only 19 needles and pushers in working position on the right side. As you can see, I am making the last decreases and I need to knit the last 6 rows. At this point you can reset the row counter. Now we have to take off these 19 stitches. You can put them on a decor comp and drop it between the beds. But if you don't have one, move the lock to the color changer and take an eyelet with waste yarn. Knit 20 rows with the waste yarn without changing the settings on the locks. Clear the row counter, move the lock to the color changer and leave all eyelets there. Remove the weight and slide the lock to drop the knitting off the machine. Clear the row counter and set the front lock to N. Now cut both yarn tails and retread the machine. Move the lock to the right and take the eyelet with the main yarn again. Now drop the front bed. This is what the pocket will look like. Now we have to knit the garment. Fold the pocket towards you as shown in the video. Take off the weight and pull out the hem casing. If you take a closer look, you will see a row of slightly bigger stitches. You have to rehang them back on the needles. Start by rehanging the rightmost stitch first. It must go in the hook of the 30th needle on the right. This way the fabric will be stretched and it would be easier to rehang the other stitches. The first stitch on the left side is also a tricky one to find, but the other ones you will rehang easily. Now you can see the process up close. At this point you must have 60 needles in working position with stitches on them. Push the hem between the beds of the machine and attach 2 weights to it. Raise the front bed and knit 62 rows. Clear the row counter. Now you have to remove 19 stitches on the right side. If you have a decker comb, take the stitches and drop the comb between the beds of the machine. If you don't have a decker comb, use the double-eye bodkin tool and transfer these 19 stitches on the opposite needles on the back bed. Now drop the front bed, take off the weight and find the pocket piece. Make sure it is not twisted and fold the waste yarn towards you as shown in the video. We have to rehang these 19 stitches to the empty needles on the front bed. When I have to rehang live stitches that can unravel, I am always starting from the left side and rehang them to the right. This way I can find out if all of the stitches have been rehanged at the end. By the way, you can contact me if you know an interesting knitting technique that you want to share. All the needed links can be found in the description below. Now raise the front bed. Use the double-eye bodkin tool and transfer the 19 stitches back to the needles on the front bed. If your stitches are on a decker comb, you have to rehang them now. While I'm transferring the stitches, you can support me by liking the video. After transferring the stitches to the front bed, you might attach 1 or 2 weights to help the machine knit the stitches properly. Make sure all needles on the back bed are out of working position and continue knitting the garment following your instructions. The pocket is ready. It will be the right pocket of the garment. This is what the pocket looks like right after you take it from the machine. It looks amazing. You can double the number of needles and mirror the shapings to achieve a kangaroo pocket for hoodies. Find the end of the waste yarn and pull it off. Now you can see the pocket up close. Everything looks seamless. I hope you have enjoyed this video as I did. If you want more videos like it, share your knitting secrets in the comments or on one of the links below. That's all for today. Have a nice day and see you in my next video. And by the way, make sure the trip cam for the row counter is pushed to the right edge spring to count the rows properly while knitting the pocket.